Yo, what up guys, it's QB here from the Chopper Express and I'm here to bring you some OP13 Teach gameplay. Today what we'll be going over is some Teach versus Emu. I have two games today, one where I went first and one where I went second. Today I'll be going over the list that I'm currently testing right now. And also some misplays I may have made in the game, as well as some things kind of like strategies you want going forward. So first off, I guess we should start off where Teach kind of is in OP13, and I would say it's kind of, I ain't gonna lie, testing's been a little rough, kind of learning the matchups and things like that, but it has still, that's the fun of playing card games, is learning new matchups, learning new ways to play the game. And right now we're back to the old good strat of Burgess beatdown, where we're just going to try and get as many burgers as we can out and then hide them behind blockers such as Caribou, Success Guzan, and Devon. I think this strat so far has been the best strat. I think as you continue to play, you start feeling like the 7 cost Teach just, it's hard to find time to play him versus Ace and Emu. Versus Emu, he's basically unplayable. You're just not going to play the card. And then versus Ace, it's basically, since most of their minions past 8 down are all 10 cost, you end up needing the same cards you would need out with Doc Q. You would still need like triple auger or to out even just a 10 cost. So the threshold just kind of misses in this current format. So the two matchups that it's really good against would be probably UP and Zoro. In the US, we'll have to see how UP does prior to the Goldie Roger, but looking at the list post Goldie Roger, you really don't, I mean, they don't play a lot of the, I guess, they're not on the blue aces or the blue Luffy's anymore, 8 cost Luffy's, and they're kind of away from Gravity Blade now, since those cards are kind of okay versus the current format as well, and they've moved over to just 2 red rocks. So I think I don't, it depends how popular that deck is over here pre Goldie Roger, to where you may need 7 cost Ace or 7 cost Teach to respect that matchup. But I'm just gonna go through the list. So we're gonna go through the changes that we made since from OP12. So the changes that I've kind of done right now is I've added 2 more Katarina Devon, and that's mostly in respect for both the Ace and Emu deck. For Ace, what I'm kind of finding is that you kind of need to be able to guard 7s slightly easier. You can't just take every 7, because if they start just aggroing your life, then they're basically just saying, hey, I have Roger. So you need more 2Ks to be able to guard those type of swings. The kind of spots I'm kind of messing with right now are these 2 spots right here. Everything else has been testing pretty solid. The other card has been kind of like, it doesn't feel as strong as it used to, mostly because this format isn't as, I would say, removal heavy. It's Kuzan. It's just that basically, since there's not a lot of removal or cards this card is like trying to dodge, it just kind of feels like you prefer just to play your burgers like straight out on curve. But I guess the good thing about it is whether or not it can still generate that extra card. And the other, I guess, con to it is that since Ace is 6k, and then versus the Emu deck, you really want large swings. Floating back into this isn't as good as it used to be, because you want to actually float back into you want to develop an actual swinger, because you need to be able to like actually go face with the card the following turn. Ace has the ability kind of similar to UP, where they'll go like basically get 2 cards and then give you 2 cards, and it's kind of like they didn't lose any card advantage, and they just continue to put out big bodies on the board. So that's kind of what I've been seeing so far. I think you still makes the cut right now, but after looking at some of the lists that we were doing well in Japan, I did see an individual who cut this all together, so I may see if that is could be the move. Essentially, he just cut this card for 4 of the 1 cost Vivi blocker. But blockers are really good, and they're really good because you want to be able to swing with your Burgess and then not get traded out by Nose Jiro, and your opponent's just going to try and swing really big into it. So really, you want to try and get your burst as big as possible, as fast as possible, and be able to hide it behind Kuzans and Devon and other blockers like that. So there may be addition to our Winnie blockers. The reason I'm playing Devon is I do think in this current format it is the best blocker. Like I said, there's not a lot of removal, so Sandman Wolf isn't as much needed, and this card can help you close games versus Emus to try and close out 2 life, because there are a lot of games where you can get stuck. They can stick you at like 2 lives, and it's kind of hard to get past. So this is another card you can float into off of Kuzan. Also, this card is pretty decent to Zoro, since it's one of the 1 blockers that can't get rested by Quina. Oops. So without oops, that was an accident. Let me go ahead and just put that in real quick. But 4/6 Kuzan. Actually, this is I think this along with Burgess is the best card in the deck now. I really like this card last form, but this form it comes up a lot more because you need to be able to like maintain board presence. So being able to save a life and put out either a Van Augur or a Burgess or a Kuzan to swing with the next turn is actually really good. 3/10 cost Teach. This is really needed for the ace deck mostly because you need some way to combat their 12 costs and you need to be able to like play through their 12 costs to be aggressive. And the reason and that's one of the reasons we'll go over in the ace video. And we're back on to Black Hole. I think this card is really needed for the Imu deck because, and I'll talk about it a little bit more when we get into the game. Like you need this going into after their Goros, so you set up to try and go for lethal. So this is the card you need to find for your lethal lines. But let's get to the video. Get to game one. So this is game one. I'm playing versus Imu. They made me go first. They picked the 7-cost stage to start with, which each Imu player go. I think in this matchup you want to go second actually. Here I open Lafitte, Daku, Van Augur, Kuzan. With this hand, actually, I thought about it afterwards. I think it's actually advantageous to just turn them off when you have this type of hand. Reason being is that if you turn them off, you put them on having double event, and so then your first you'll be able to pop the first body that comes out, which I think is actually very advantageous because basically what will happen is he would have skipped this turn and he may have thrown down the 1-cost body just to try and contest the Lafitte, but it would have been punished by the Daku. But here I have Daku stronger, Van Augur, Teach. I can either take the 2K, which I think is actually really important to be able to protect my Burgess, or I can take Van Augur to have the swinging body, because what can happen is since really Burgess and Van Augur are your only two swinging bodies, it is sometimes more advantageous to just grab multiple of them so you can float into them. But I think with my current hand, I already have 2 bodies. I'm gonna play one out next turn more than likely, and then I'm gonna have the other one in trash for my Van Augur the next turn. So here I go swing, he pops, and then here I'm going to go ahead and leader ability. So I think in this matchup, actually it's more of a systematic leader ability. There are some games where I just turn them off, especially when they get low on hand size, and I just turn them off every turn so they don't generate more cards. But I try and just make sure that this turn that they don't play Saturn and generate a card, because if you can neg 1 card, that's like 1 card you don't have to get through in the rest of the game, especially because we're trying to put them on the lowest cards possible for the end game. So I find stage. I'm gonna go ahead and float stage to get another Burgess. I could have took Kuzan, but like I said, I'm trying to get more swinging bodies, and here's, like I said, I'm low on cards, so I'm gonna go ahead and not leader ability this turn, and that's really because if he does have another Saturn, it's the only body he'll play this turn, and then he'll do probably 2 big swings in my face, or he's gonna play Nojuro. So there's just like a lot more cards you could play on this turn. In this matchup, they're probably just discarding Mars every turn because it's actually just not that good. So it's really just Warcurry, Saturn, and Nojuro. And he's gonna go ahead and do 6. He knows I got stronger, so I think he's just trying to get the stronger out of my hand. I'm going to hold on to it because I know he's trying to just set up for Nojuro, so I'm going to just hold on to stronger as long as I possibly can. And here, I'm going to go ahead and just try and generate a card. I probably should have fished a Teach here because Teach is not as good. And the question right now is, do I swing 6/6 or do I swing 5/7 at this Saturn? The reason I'm thinking that is because I think if I look at his trash, I think he's like a couple off from his, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's like a couple off from his Nojuro actually being live, but I'm not sure. Or no, he's already live. And so I'm trying to think whether or not I want to let my Burgess just die. Because what will happen is if I swing another 6, I can get another card because he's going to protect it because he wants all the swings he can possibly get at my Burgess. So these are just like the complicated turns of playing this matchup that I'm trying to, I guess, get really a lot more solid at. Because what ends up happening is like you don't have a lot of cards in your hand, but like if you take too many lives in the early aspect of the game, then you basically can only play through one Gorosei. So you basically gotta put on a timer in that sense, and that's probably the rough part of this matchup. Now, I'm going to just throw my Doc Q. I think in this matchup, it's just no point not to. You know, maybe you just catch your opponent sleeping, but there's just no point not to just turn it, in my opinion. So now he goes in and plays Jupiter. So that would have been a really heavy punish if I turned my Burgess and he gave me a counter for it, but that's kind of, I was trying to counter fish it out of hand by swinging it in the 6, but I hit my Era. I'm going to just get more counter power. He goes ahead and shrinks my Kuzan, and I can give a 2-1 here, or I can take the block, and then I probably should take the block and put out the Burgess and see if he'll trade into my Burgess and see if I can get a 2-1 there. But I'm also scared that if I do get the 2-1 and he swings 9, then I'm forced to trade next turn. So I kind of want to stay slightly a little healthy, because in this matchup, like I said, you're on a timer. And so here I realize, basically, since I'm on a timer, I can either give him 3 cards here, or I can try and swing into the bodies and hopefully fish for counter. But I don't have a lot of time, and that's like I think that's the reason I kind of mess up in this game. I do think if I had turned him off, set up the Van Auger Doc Q for the first body, if it's workery, like, it doesn't matter what body it is, I guess, because no matter what, it kind of makes him either go 6/6 into my Van Auger. I can either choose to give him a card or just let it die, and then he just sets up another standing body. So my Van Auger can function as a blocker in that part of the game, to where I can possibly have more lives getting to the end game, so where I can actually just try and outvalue, make or force him to have basically two elders, because I can probably clear up the first couple bodies on the first elder, take a lot of lives, and then try and clear that, and then say, hey, do you have another elder, or else I can like maybe clear up those bodies too. But here I'm basically just thinking, how can I set up either a lethal line, or how do I win the game? And this may have been a mistake on my part. I probably should have kept up my Dawn, because I think what you have to get used to is that when they resolve Elder, they'll have, if you don't have the adequate number of swings, which basically is they basically get 2 lives off of their Elder, because you only have Black Hole to deal with that, and then you also need so you basically have to like get through 2 lives. So I probably could have went like Burgess, Katarina, but I think I was scared that I died on the backswing. But I think if I swung two 8s into the bodies, played Burgess Katarina, he probably gets like 3 swings this turn. I probably take 2, block 1. I probably just don't have enough to get there though. In this list I was playing Vasco Shot. I've been just like switching through a lot of lists, trying to find what I felt like I liked. Been testing a couple things out, and just while I'm just like learning the matchups, and I am finding that the weenie blockers do help, and especially in an ace matchup, just to like save you counter power. Here is the Elder. I don't have enough counter to counter this. I'm gonna go ahead and take, and basically he's just putting myself on having to go for game at this point in time. There's nothing to Vortex. I think he did his card generation before he summoned. So here I just have to take the Bulb Katarina, and I only have 3 swings to basically 4 lives, and basically like you're gonna see that he's just gonna lock me out of the game, to where there's no way for me to win. So in this game, really, if we think about it a little bit more, I think we could have went back and turned him off on the first turn. You can either put him on a better habit. I think when you have Doc Q and Augur though, and Lafitte, I think you just turn him off and don't let him generate any cards. You can do that for the whole game, just because I think going first feels more similar to the GP matchup than going second. Like going second, you can kind of get away with it a little bit more, because you're gonna be the first person to play your body, or you're gonna be the first person to play your 10 costs. And so we'll see in the second game that you can kind of get to a better situation going second, to where you have like your Burgesses actually trading into their minions, and you have your leader like trade out cards out of their hand, and then eventually you can just like turn the game and go like 10 costs to like free swings, and then try and kill them with their Burgess. So it just fits a little bit better going second to stay healthy. So going first, I'm still trying to figure it out. But I do think doing the pop strat for the early part of the game may be advantageous because it really does put them and turning them off and saying, hey, like you're going to have your leader ability and then whatever you can get off the top of your deck for at least the first 2 turns. Usually, I don't think they're once they see you're turning them off. I don't think they may not take into account that like basically that there's one card searchers, the one card search girl may not get the actual search, so you probably just convert her into counter power in that scenario. But I'm gonna test that theory out actually as I keep going. Let's go to game 2 though, and let's see how that one went. So game 2, I get to go second actually this game, and this is a really good hand. I think this is kind of like the hand that you really want to look for, which is really just stage or like I really like stage, my era, any of the searchers. Plus Kuzan or plus Burgess plus the 6 cost Kuzan. And so here he goes, he whiffs his turn 1. I draw my era. I'm going to go ahead and my era first to see what I get. I'm going to take the 10 cost Teach because it's a card that we kind of want to just get in our hand because we're going to play it on curve more than likely. And I think it's just better than having the Van Augur, which I would end up filtering out anyway. He draws the Santa, he draws the, I think it's St. Clara, I don't know her name. One cost searcher lady. They draw her, which is really good for them. They filter out a Saturn, which makes me think they have another Saturn in hand or another 4-cost body that they value. They decide to go for a star strat. I don't know if that's good or not. I think in this matchup you could starve. Like I think it actually gets really, really close in this game. But I find another Burgess. I'm gonna just throw my Burgess out there, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn him off. I just don't want his Saturn generating other cards because I want to make the game as hard as possible for them. And I think so. Here, I go ahead and use my field spell. Like I said, and this is when I'm going to turn. I switched to like Katarina to see how this card was. They only have 6, so now I'm thinking, okay, if I swing, I could swing both this turn. I swing 5. I don't really want to swing too big. So since I know he has 6, I know that basically he can get to 9 next turn unless he draws a vent for turn. And if he draws a vent plus Nurse Juro, then like I'll lose my Teach. And I'll kind of just say okay to that, but right now they don't have that, so basically it'll just be a 6, and then I can guard 1, and then they don't have to give 2 Donna swing 7. So I'm actually looking at it like, okay, I'm in a decent position. I could have turned them off, but I decided not to. I decided to just put them on that just because I want the counter power in my hand. And like I said, he goes in and swings 6 with his no zero. And then I'll just go ahead and get the counter here. Because now I'll get the Devonka card, just doesn't do anything in this matchup. And so now my Burgess is at 7k. He'll have to put 2 Dawn on his Saturn to swing with that, and I can just take a free block there. If he decides to swing with his Saturn, then I can just still trade out Najuro next turn and put up another blocker next to my Kuzan. So he decides to be 7, and like I said, you want to just float into the biggest stats you can get, so I float back into Burgess. He has 1 Dawn up. In this matchup, I think it's very understanding to... I think one of the things that's good to understand is that they cannot 3k event that, so like I said, I'll go ahead and grab Kuzan here. Here, I don't know this, so I feel like I'm going to swing 6. And kind of similar to, I think this is another thing that's like similar to GP or the Rayleigh matchup. You just want to like try and get cards from them. Sometimes they'll give for free because they'll be like, oh, these are just free bodies. Zero is like really important, so I'm just going to swing 6 at it. And if I can get like 2 cards for it, or get Jupiters, which is really good for it. So like, I think if you go read some Metaphys, I think I read Kai's, and one of the things he talked about is that like when you swing 6s, if they give you Jupiter, it's like the last 2k they actually want to give you, so you can actually make a read that ideally they either only have Jupiters or they just are out of 2ks at this point. So I'm gonna go ahead and swing 7, and then I'll go ahead and swing 7 again. I just want to clear this Juro out of the board because now my Burgesses can kind of stick around, and I'm gonna not want to give him more. I don't want to keep him leader building just because he's putting me on. He's doing the starve method. So here I'm going to hide my Burgesses behind 2 Kuzans, a Kuzan and a blocker again. I'm okay if he hits Mars and goes Mars to pop my Caribou and tries to swing big. I think that ends up being what, like 8/8. I think it's a sacrifice I have to make in this situation. If he did that, he would have what, 2 cards in hand, I think, because he doesn't. I don't think he's leader ability yet, so he'd have 2 cards in hand going into his turn. And then if that happens, I would just take a block. I would just let one of the burgers die, take a block on the second burgers, and then do that from there. So here he swings 7. I'm going to go ahead and block, and then he's going to go and take another big swing. I'm going to go and take a block here. And this would be, so if I had the Kuzan still, this would, or the Teach here, it'd be really good. So I'm going to go ahead and decide to filter out actually my stronger, because I don't know if I need the body, and I'm going to go ahead and grab the Kuzan. And here, I know I'm going to leader ability this turn, so I think it's better for me just to leader ability my Burgess away right now. And here I'm trying to figure out what the best thing to do is, and I actually think this is also another thing where I messed up. I think similar to other matchups like GP, I should just swing base. He's not going to give me a cards for this, so I should just swing a 5. Ideally, he shouldn't give a card, actually, I think. Because if he gives too many cards, I can put him on no cards, or put him on 1 card. But also I'm thinking, okay, like I also want to be aggressive and go face. But you'll see after I end this turn right here, I kind of mess up. Because if I just swing small at it, maybe even get it out of here, and then say he gives me 2 cards to keep it, then I can always turn my Burgess's face at that point, and he'll have 4 cards, and then he'll go back down to 3 cards. So my Burgesses, I'll probably lose. The thing is, I'm thinking is I'm gonna lose both my Burgesses if I swing them, and so I either have to just. But he's already been through. He's pitched, I think, two elders, giving me the idea that he already has 1 elders in his hand. But he's not. He's starving me, so I'm super healthy actually. So I can actually just say no. I'm just gonna try and outlast your 2 elders, your 2 last elders. And if you don't have the second elder in your hand, you're not gonna get it. And then the only body I'm giving you access to kill right now actually is Van Augur, which will generate me a card. And so basically, your only way to generate cards right now is me giving you cards, or you blocking with Warkery, which over the next 2 turns, I'm thinking if I can just either draw 10 costs and freeze out Warkery, or draw a black hole and then do that, and then trade over Nosjuro, then that would be advantageous. So he goes in and goes 10 costs. Swings at Augur, I'll take the draw. And then here, I guess he's thinking now, should he abandon the Starve Strap? But here he goes and sends off his Saturn. I would send off Nosjuro, actually, because I think you want all the standing bodies you can have. I think the bad thing about not sending Nosjuro, though, or the bad thing about sending Nosjuro is you really need Nosjuro to clear up the Burgesses later. Here I go ahead and fish out my Kuzan, see what I can get, and I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of this Warkery. Like I said, I think he's so low on cards, the only card he's going to get is the ones I give him. I'm going to go ahead and take my other black hole now, because I'm pretty sure now I'm just going to try, and here I'm just thinking I'm just going to set up for lethal. I'm going to try and put as much pressure as I can on this Nosjuro, see if I can get another 9s, so I can either go like 999, 4 9s, which I probably should do. I don't think it actually matters. Like, I think if I swing 7 and he events, it's actually just really good for him. But I'm also trying to leave up 2 Dawn most turns, trying to bluff that I have Vortex since he has Peters. With that, what that kind of does is, if I leave up 2 Dawn at the end of my turns, then I guess this is how I'm thinking about it in my head. I'm thinking that, like, whenever he swings, he's swinging under the idea that, like, his stuff is 7, and so if he tries to trade out of Burgess by adding 2 Dawn, I can just Vortex the Peter, and then now I've traded 2 swings for with my Vortex. So I'm thinking if I just keep this up, then like he's like kind of in a rough spot. And here's, like I said, since I saw he only used 3 of his 10 costs, I put him on, hey, you have your 4th 10 costs. If he had it, he would have given me probably a life at least before then. And then I would have been good about that. And here I could try and go for lethal, but actually one of the things I found when you play against the Imu deck, and I've been testing the Imu deck as well, This deck always has a crap ton of counter power. Like, even it does not, like, never considered so broken, because even looking at his hand, you would be like, oh, like, I should kill him. Odds are he's dead. But sometimes they're just not dead, and I didn't do the math. Like, he probably could be actually be dead, but it'd be like, what, never existed plus 1k, never existed plus 1k block, and then he's just not dead. But I think I also know one of the cards is Elder, actually. But I think this way, I know I'm never dead. I know he can never clear my Burgesses, and I already have Black Hole for the clapback of the next turn, so this forces him to get 2 cards. I have Black Hole for the clapback. I never die here. I think it's just a safer route to take, in my opinion, based on how the game's going. In here, he's only threatening with 3 swings maximum, or 4 swings. I guess if he has no zero on him, but 3 swings. So I'm gonna go ahead and just like let him just do whatever he's doing, understanding that like I'm just gonna make sure my Burgesses make it to the next turn, and then once they make it to the next turn, I'm basically already showing lethal here. And I think this game kind of gives you an idea of, from the Blackbeard perspective, how the tempo of the matchup we want it to go. I think the first game I could do a little bit better about going first, because I think that's the turn. I think that's the percentage is a little harder. Guarding wise, I've been testing a couple things. I think depending on the flow of the game, if you're going to be leader building every turn, then like you kind of want to take life a little bit more freely. But I think because you basically want to, how do I say it? If your hand is strong enough, then you can take lives and put them on a 1 turn clock, depending on how they're taking their lives. I think one of the things we have to do if we're going to play this matchup and try and get the percentage close as possible is try to understand how your opponent is giving cards. I think one of the best cards for them in this matchup is Warcry, because Warcry is the one card that I think you just have to ignore. And if they're going to turn it, I don't think you can invest swings into it, because if you invest a swing, it's giving them a life, but also it's basically you just giving them a life. And in this matchup, you need to get them to 1, or you need to put them so low on cards that all their Gorseis become -2, so you can kind of like do smaller swings to kind of fish out all the other cards. And then, but really, I think this matchup is probably, to me, so far in testing, this has easily been a harder matchup than the Ace matchup. I think the Ace matchup also can be difficult. I think it really comes down to your counter power, but I think the tools versus that matchup are a lot better, because it feels a lot more like your deck is functioning versus that deck versus Imu, where you can't really do any type of pop strats. You really are just doing Burger Speed down. You really are just trying to get to this game state. You can get to this game state, mind you, because on my 10-Don turn, if I had Teach, you could have got to the similar game state where where Teach can be your 3rd big body. And I think that's really the number you're really trying to look for. Trying to get 3 big bodies, preferably be Burgess Teach, or Burgess. But you want to get there. You want to get them roughly around round 2 life, I would say. You want to give them 1 life if possible, but if you can get them to 2 life, then having 3 big swings, you have basically 4 big swings through their lives, and then you kind of put them on their counter power. But the hard part is, good Emu players will analyze that line, and they'll just decide to hold their never existed and to trade out your big swings and go from there. But hope y'all enjoyed this video. Like I said, I'm trying to really trying to get these Blackbeard matchups so I can get this information out to you. I do want to start working on a Metafy, so please leave a comment if y'all would be interested in that. I actually despise writing, but if there's a lot of interest, I'll go ahead and sit here and write that paper up for y'all and try and get y'all the information. I will be going back and forth between Imu and Blackbeard, as Blackbeard will be more of my fun deck format, so we will start getting some Imu matchups up as well. But really just want to continue to push that forward. I think a lot of y'all have came here at the beginning starting with my Blackbeard content, so just want to be able to get that information out to y'all and show you that, hey, the deck is playable. If I'm being honest, somewhere around tier 2-ish, like high tier 2 to me. So probably would be like 6th, 7th best deck in the format. The matchups are playable. They are hard though, and trying to navigate those matchups is where the fun is in the game, to be honest. And that's also why I'm playing Imu. The fun is navigating the matchups. So I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Y'all stay safe out here. Peace.